Dutchman's wood. Actually, Dust Shack. All right. Today, I want to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I don't know if my camera is kind of goofy, so bear with me here. Bear with me. I could go down further. With further ado, okay, so what I've done here, you know what? This doesn't work right. I like to put it over here. Maybe it'll be better over there. Hey, welcome to the Dutchman's Mess Shop. Yo, Jeff. Hey, what's going on, bud? Happy New Year, by the way. All right. So what I'm doing today is what I've been doing for every day for the last month, making finials, Christmas trees, and snowmen. Okay, so I'll show you some. Oh, that's great. Okay, so here's what I've been making. There's this little ones you hang on a Christmas tree. All right, this is made out of walnut. This is spalted hickory. It's spalted hickory. It's a Christmas tree. And same thing, spalted. This is spalted maple, I believe. The snowman. Now, I asked people, do I need to paint that? Should I paint that or just leave it like that? I thought about, see, my problem is I can't, everything's so small, sometimes trying to put your own thing on there. Like I wanted to put some eyes on there and, I don't know if I'm going to do that. If I did that because it's dark white, I'd have to do it light. So I'm trying to paint this. I'm trying to paint this. So the only thing I can, this is a snowman I made. I'll have a black hat and I'll try and paint this. Now, the problem with this is, and I'm finding out, is if I'm going to put sanding seal on it before I paint it. It absorbs the paint so much. Now, or kills. The thing is, when you're doing raw wood like this, for some reason you're painting it. I have not done really good with this when I'm making these things. It's like, even when I spray paint it, the problem with the spray paint, it's the overspray. I don't like using that. Now, if I was going to do natural wood, then it's not a problem because usually I go over it, about 3 times or so with wipe-on poly or something. A lot easier to work with. So, anyway, yeah, sometimes I can't read this. Anyway, yeah, I wish my hand. Anyway, that's the thing with this. Okay, so part of the problem is that I don't know. So I did paint them green though. So for instance, this is green. Now I didn't paint this. This is a dye. I have this dye that I got for for wood. It works great. Now, I'm making a bunch of these for my train layout, believe it or not. So this is about 1.5 inches, maybe 1 3/8 inches. This stuff works great. Now, there's some other stuff I use too. If I'm just going to do just the rings, I use this stuff. It's a wax, but it's an embellishing wax. Now, I'm having a hard time dealing with this stuff because I don't exactly know how this stuff works. I've used it and it's okay. Gotta turn that down. This I use on the raw wood. This is great stuff. My friend, a good woodworking buddy, Gerald Vance. You have to check him out. Appalachian Heritage Woodshop. He's on Facebook and YouTube. Great. If you want to learn something from this guy, I kind of mentor. Gerald's a great teacher. He's a great teacher. He's in West Virginia, and I've been to his place. It's awesome. Thank you, Gerald. He teaches a lot, and he does a lot of woodworking, really fine woodworking stuff, and you get a kick out of him. He'll show you. He's got a bunch of videos and stuff out there. He'll show you what he does. Okay, so I thought about making some hammers. Now, this is my version. Woodworking hammer. I got to seal it. I don't know what I'm going to seal it with yet, but this is my version of woodworking hammer. So you mess around. Now, I use this when I'm doing, really light color wood. See, this, I don't mess around. I think this is red oak or something. I forget what this is. Maybe it's mahogany. I think it's mahogany. I don't know. I had some old wood laying around one time and I was fooling around, and this is it. So it is a little bit different than what some of the other guys make. They have I don't know, but this works out fine. I just got to seal it. But I got crazy one day when I first started learning how to do turning, and this is what I ended up with. It was fun. I mean, it's light wood. Yeah, I know. I could use it to knock some sense into. So, and so this is another one of my creations. It's another finial. It's made out of, I believe, mahogany, but it turned out really nice. It turned out nice. Now, I use a Dremel tool for this, and I put that embellishing stuff I showed you earlier on this. It's kind of fun. I've made a couple of them. I got two more out that I sold one of them, actually. But, all right, so I'm going to do something here. What I want to do is I've made a bunch of these already small. What I want to do here is I'm going to make a tree. So the problem with doing woodworking tree now, you got most of the time I'm doing it on light wood, but I like to do it sometimes in the dark. And this is walnut. I have scraps laying all over the place. I do segmenting with my turning for my bowls. So all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this just a little. Now, I use a couple of, maybe just a handful of tools, nothing special. My friend Marie from my group, I belong to the Windy City Turners. She uses some bigger tools. She likes to use this. And I can only use it for so much because you're only using that much of it. But when you're doing small stuff, it's dicey because these things will grab if you're not careful. This is where learning your tools comes in. I always tell people, if you want to learn your tools, if you want to make the small stuff, now this is just scrap pine. I had it off some wood I was making when I was working in my train room over there. I'll take you over there in a little bit. This is my friend Pat, who's an engineer for Union Pacific and out of the Chicago yards, got me this. I want to get the big shirt though. Anyway, you take some pine, just take some 1x, scrap 1x, cut it up. I'll cut this. Now, this knot in here is not good to turn. So what I'll probably do is cut it out of there, which is not a big deal. It gives you enough room. You could do two things on here if you're doing small stuff. But again, you learn your tools this way. It's the only problem with pine. So see how the corners are square, right? And it's kind of small to run through a saw. the table saw. What I normally do is I take the corners off. It helps without splitting. You don't get a lot of burrs. Um, you might be able to run it through if you put your saw blade at 45, but this is small, so you got to be really careful. Even with the guard on it, you still have a chance of it backing up on you, shooting out, and or catching you. You know, because you got to use a push stick. So what I normally do, if I do something this small, I'll use a push stick. It's like a quarter-inch thing, because it's safety. Always think safety. And never stand behind it when you're pushing it, because when you're pushing stuff like this thing will shoot out at you. I found that out once. That's the fat Billy here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start out. I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to do this. Now, there's not much on here. I could probably do two things on here. So I've got about 3/4 of an inch inside the mouth. So I could probably do a couple on here, but what I'm going to do is two things you got to remember. One is which is the top and which is the bottom. So now the top, if I'm doing finials, I like the top to be here and the bottom down here, because then I can pull this away. I'll use this, the only time I use this is when I'm stabilizing it, when I'm going around. Anything long, if I'm doing something that's half this size, I don't worry about it so much. It keeps it going from going all over the place. But it's just a stabilizer for now. What I'll do is when I get down to the point, like when I'm doing whatever it is, I like to have the top of it being here and the bottom down here. With finials, it's the other way around, because you want the skinny part down here, I guess. So I'm going to do a Christmas tree. Now I'm using this tool. Oh, somebody told me I was a tool. No tool. I got I have to glue this down there, but it keeps coming out. Now you see, I've got that down to where I want it. Now, I can tell this needs to be sharpened a little bit. I've been using it quite a bit. Take care of your tools; it'll take care of you. I'll never forget when I went years ago. I started out learning woodworking, actually in the Forest Service, outside of the high school. But one thing I learned is if you're using a chainsaw, and if you're on a fire crew, hand crew, using a chainsaw, if it's not sharp, you'll be paying for it. And if you're on hours, like 14 to 20, maybe even 30 hours on a fire crew with a dull chain, it does not work. So sharpening your tools pays off. No matter how much you got to stop and sharpen it, the harder the woods, the more you're going to sharpen it. You always want to make sure that your tools are sharp. And besides that, I'm a lazy butt. I get in there and I start doing stuff. I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time putting pressure on it and, and have to worry about it. It's a safety factor. So, okay, so now I'm going to use this one. I like using this one a lot. Now, a lot of guys like to use their standard bowl gouges or this one. And this one's not bad. I have something that's similar inside the tools box, but I like using the smaller tools. I actually like, and this is the other one I use. Now this one I know is dull, so I probably won't use this much. And I've got to figure out how to sharpen this thing because I don't know if I can use this on the grinding wheel or not. It's just so small. You might take a little bit more off. Doesn't mean if you butcher this up, you can't start from scratch. But okay, so now I'm going to carve it. Now, which way I'm going to go? This is the top, and this is the bottom, and there's different reasons why. But now I'm only going to probably go out to about half of this, so I can keep the other half for another time. So what I'm going to do is just put a groove in there. Now, you have to remember, are you going to use it for a necklace? Because I can make them for necklace, or you're going to use them for hanging in a tree. So this one I might use as a necklace. So it depends on the base of your tree. All right. Sometimes I like to make the base of the tree with the trunk a little bit smaller if you're going to wear it as a necklace. And I'll ask you guys, do you like to have these things made? If you're going to use them for a necklace, do you want them smaller? Do you like them dyed? Stained? Would you rather have a green tree than a brown tree? Natural woods, does it matter to you? Leave me questions and comments always. Let me know. I wish sorry guys, for some reason my camera is acting up. Hang on a second here. I'm going to do something here. Tanner, thanks. You guys, I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. If you guys have subscribed, just let me know. I don't charge anything, by the way. So if you subscribe, don't worry about it. So one of the big things I like doing is showing people this. This is fun. I love getting your opinions too, man. That's cool. It's a fun project. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's kind of like making. What do you call it? Pins. The difference between this and a pin, what I would do with a pin is I normally would drill a hole out first. And you can put it on here, do the same thing, line them up straight. And then there's a chuck that goes on here. It's like a regular drill press chuck. I got a drill press over here. Instead of me using a jig, I like to have the drill press. And what happens is, when you're drilling, I like longer lengths because then I can cut them in half. This is perfect size too for a pen. But my thing is, when I do pens, I like to get peculiar types of wood, like zebra wood or something that's got a lot of grain that's back. Sometimes Osage is good, so. Now what I want to do on this, and make sure that you keep your tool away too. Now I've got this, I don't want to go down narrow yet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work at carving it like a Christmas tree. But now I want to make it so that the bottom might curve out a little bit. So I might just do this bit. Now I'm going to use this tool for that a little bit. So. Now I got it down to about quarter of an inch, maybe eighth of an inch down here. But I'm stopping for now because what I got to do is sandpaper. Now this is a little bit rougher than I want, but I'm going to first off move this. Hear my compressor going off. Now, why did you get the rough spots off? There's a little bit of a bump right there. Yeah. So now the idea is. And the one thing you want to worry about, is this, it chunks out a little bit. So I'm going to put rings around it. Now you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it when you're doing this. That looks pretty good. And the one thing you have to worry about is if it chunks out or not. And it will a little bit, but that's okay because when you sand it, hang on a second. You basically would take the sanding paper like this. And what I like to do is, you gotta be careful with this too. This thing will bite you. It's already got me. I think it was this hand right here where I ripped that open. Yeah, right there's a groove. I ripped it open. All you saw was a pocket and my tin in there. It didn't bleed, believe it or not. And I went to the urgent care and all they said, just put a tape on it. They put a butterfly bandage on it. So, hey, listen. You're not a carpenter. I'll tell you this. You're not a carpenter or a construction worker unless you haven't done something to your body. They've been doing this for 35, 40 years, and I'm telling you, just when you think you're safe, nope. The older you get to, the more lackadaisical you might, brain dead you might be with your tools. No, never. If you're tired, don't go do it. If your brain isn't working that day, don't go do it, because sure enough, I'm telling you from experience, this guy here has done it, been there, done that. So okay, so last but not least, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and taper this nose down far enough where I can take this off, move this away. And this is okay. I'm going to do this a little bit deeper, but now you've got about 1/8 of an inch between this metal jaw and the edge of that. So you don't want to go too far. So you're going to go in at an angle a little bit. And this is where knowing your tools makes a difference. Now, I'll just say something. I'll reiterate this. I don't want to say I'm an expert, because I'm always learning something. There's other guys out there that do different stuff. Cindy Drewsda, Kelly Dunn. There's a lady out there. She's really good doing Snowman. Her name is Denny, Holly Denny. She does the Dizzy Turners is really good. So I love doing this stuff. It's fun, and if some ways get you interested in doing lathe work, I'm doing something. So. And there's a story behind this lathe I'll tell you after I'm done here. See, now I could turn another one like that out of that. That could probably, I've done it where it's half that size. Looks like a stogie, doesn't it? Now, I'm gonna sand this a little bit more. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of carving in here and then we're done. Now, what I usually do is I take it over to my drill press here, and I sand it off. But I've actually gotten to the point where I could take this stuff, I could almost turn something that small. It's not worth it though, safety wise. Now I could turn it if I put the spindle on this side, and I could probably do it on that without this. So hang on a second, I gotta read yours. David, how you doing, buddy? Anyway, it's kind of what I like to do. Now that's this, but see, you can make them really small. I think that's where's my? It's like 1.5 inches. But here's what I've done. See now, there's a couple things I'll do. See how small that is? Okay, so here's another one I made. There's another one I made right there. And then the smallest one I made is this right there. It's about 1/2 inch. It's a little bit less than 1/2 inch. Now, and there's another one. You can make it. Now, see, my idea here is, you see those, right? Here's this. Okay, so I made that. Okay, so I made a bunch of them. Well, here's a snowman. I gotta paint these guys. It's a little bit bigger. Made this out of a stick, a pine. Here's another one. Now here's the one I made that's in it. This one and this one will be going on my train set. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these, I have some of this green stuff. What I'll do is, it's turf. I'm gonna spray glue on here. There's a spray glue I got for doing train stuff. And what I'll do is I'll take and spray that on, then I'll put the turf stuff on there, the things I've got in the train room, and make it look like it's part of the forest. When I put it up on my layout, I'm going to ask people to see if they can spot it, because I'm going to make a bunch of these and put them in there. If any of you guys have seen my layout, Jeff's Train World, Jeff's Amazing Trains. If you go look up on my other channels, Jeff's Amazing Trains, you'll see. But that's easy. I'm going to do one more. One more. Now, I forget what kind of wood this is. So, this might make a good snowman. It depends. But see, here's a problem already. All right, didn't realize it. There's a little bit of a imperfection in there. That's the thing about when you're picking out stuff to do. You got to make sure that if I'm doing a bowl, you want to make sure that my bowls don't have any kind of imperfections in wood. You're going to get that. So you want to minimize whatever it is, because this is where you're playing up here. I don't have any drawings. Norm says drawings. I kind of line it up dead center just to make it, just a hair off right about there. Then I'll tighten that down enough to get this square on here. Normally I take it crisscross, but for this I don't need to. The other thing is too, when you go do this, make sure you stand off to one side so you don't get it flying off on you. Okay, so I'm going to do a snowman. So we'll see how that does. Now, the trick here, because you're working on something smaller, a smaller piece, you have to limit yourself. Now, you remember, you're up against this. Now, it doesn't matter which side you're on, whether you put the top here or the top down there. But I like to have the top on this end, only because down here, it gets a little tricky. If I want to take and carve a head at a different angle or something, you know. Oh, and you can do offset turning. Now, if I was going to do offset turning to make a snowman like this at an angle, I would definitely not have this chuck on here. I would have this. Because I can put it in place of the chuck, and I can move that thing around. And the same thing with this side. That's how you do offset turning. You move them around. When you're doing something that's like a bigger piece, when I've done bowls and you're doing offset turning, it's tricky. You kind of have to teach yourself. There's sometimes you have to take and cut a piece to make it flat enough to get these things to grip. And then if you're going to use a chuck, you got to be able to make either a mortise or tenon part. This would be the tenon part. The mortise would be the outside. If it was in the outside, the hole that you're doing. You learn that when you're going. It's easy. Doing this stuff is easy. The two things that I have against me sometimes is my patience and the design. Because sometimes my designs, oh, this will look good, and then I get done with it and I'm going, well, that didn't turn out right. So, okay, so I'm going to take and move this. Okay, we're going to make a snowman this time. What do you guys like doing? What's your projects of the year? What do you guys, are you woodworkers? I have scroll saws too. I'm going to do a scroll saw. The funny part about the scroll saw thing is, a couple years ago, I actually made one for my Christmas tree. And what I did was, it was a stump. There was a guy that I knew that had a Christmas tree farm. He gave me the stumps. They would cut the tree stump, and then, he'd give me little pieces that they cut off of it when you go to buy it. And I had a 5-gallon bucket full of those things. Well, I got a couple cut. What happened is one of them, like the third one I was cutting, one of them had too much sap on it or something. I grabbed my whole hand and everything into the saw, into my table saw. And I got lucky. It only grazed the top of my nail. It grazed it enough to where it cut a slice in it a little bit, but it never really destroyed my finger. So this is to say I'm not doing that anymore. If I ever did, I would stick it in my vise over here and use my reciprocating saw to cut it. Then I was cutting slices that were about a half an inch thick. Not a good idea. No. Lessons learned. Hello, Trivia. Anyway, so that's the thing about doing when you're doing stuff on here. You want to be safe. So now that's tight. We know that's tight. So I'm going to get started. Going to make the snowman. So I'm going to do the top here and the bottom there. Oh yeah, this is going to be it's not so much at an angle. I actually raised it too far. I kind of almost want it flat. So each tool has a different way of holding it. Most of the time you're holding it up like this. So this tool, you're in a way, you're better off holding it flat, because you don't want to go like this. What will happen is it'll grab. This one's tricky. Now that's where I want that. I just made a mark there, but I have to go over it with this. No. Wait a minute, this. Okay, so as it was going around, I could feel it, the edge. When you have four corners like that, you kind of sometimes want to get them rounded down. What I usually do is take them on a table saw, and I'll take these corners off again, and it I gotta fix this thing. It's broken anyway. It makes turning a little bit easier. You're not likely to chip out a lot of stuff, depending on the wood, and that's where you're learning your tools and learning your wood makes a difference. I love wood. My background's in forestry, and I was a firefighter. I learned all that kind of stuff. But hardwoods are a lot easier than softwoods. You really have to have a delicate touch on softwoods. And you really, 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 really need sharp tools because it sucks to have not sharp tools. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to start on I've got it down to where I want it. Now, you have a perfect imperfection there, which shouldn't interfere, but we'll see. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off by carving the bottom, make 3 different rings, and then the top hat. Now, the idea with the top hat here is because I left it this way, I can eventually pull this out and round that off the way I want it, because the only reason I had it is just to center this piece. So we're going to go with this. One thing you want to remember is dimension. I work a lot with N-gauge trains, so a lot of my stuff is like 1/20th. Now, if you notice, this gets farther away. It doesn't like it. So one thing I need to do that I should have done before I started this was get this out further. So the reason why is you don't want to have too much of a gap between you and the whatever you're working on. If you've got more than like that much of a gap, it's dangerous. Now we're good. In fact, it could probably be a little bit closer. No, and that's the other thing is know your tools. Know your tools. This one's an old tool. I wouldn't say old. It's probably 2015 is when this is a 2015 version. I started turning in 2016, but I got this in 15. and it was used for a demo. Craftsman. It's got a Craftsman name on it, but it's actually Recon that has it, that made it. And I was doing a demo in the Bronx, New York, for Craftsman Tool Company. Anyway, long story short, it was uh, never. I don't think I ever worked a lathe in my life, and we were doing little spindles and stuff. And we were doing most of the time we were doing handles, and it was fun. I met a lot of guys. There's a couple guys out there that are. One guy has his own TV program, Rob North. He's doing stuff, rehabbing houses on TV, and then the other guy was Carl Champley, he's the design guy in LA. So great bunch of people. I had a great time. It was called the Craftsman Vacation. I did that a couple of times. It was awesome. Now, you can see I made some rings, right? I'm going to be using a different tool on this. So I'm going to use this a little bit more. It's easier to round things off than the other one. Now I'm going to go back to this for the final one because this is the hat. I got this idea. I want to put a little ring in here like a paint. So when you're making small things like this, you got to be careful. Again, like I said earlier, previously, that chipping out small stuff really easy. Now I'm doing this at 1,000 RPM. I'm just wondering if I shouldn't go down to a slower speed. But I'm going to sand this off real quick. Hang on a second. I gotta get a different sun. Running low on stuff. I ran out of 320 and 150. Now I've got 240, 400, and 600. Now I don't use 400. I don't use 600 unless I'm doing resin work, if not more. That's actually rough for resin work. Now the idea is you can design you can design whatever you're making, whatever you want to do. This friend of mine, one of the guys in my Woody City Turner's Club, Paul, he does magnificent work. And he makes things so small. I'm like, how, you know, they all do actually. They're all great guys. They have a good time. We just got, last month we had our Christmas party, and that's always a hoot. That's always a blast. The other club I was in, I didn't re-up on it because I'm not doing much of that stuff anymore. But it's an all-around club. Basically, you could join it for. See, this is the thing. I can join two clubs for $60. Both clubs are $30 a piece. And they're both great. They're both great clubs. I used to make a lot of furniture. I don't anymore because you can't sell it. So, okay. So now I'm gonna do. I put a little bit of a ring on there, right there. That was hard to see. Now, I take it over on the drill press and flatten it out, but I don't have that. I've got a buffer on there, but I usually flatten it out enough. Now, what I'll do with this is I'm going to put a hooks, and then there's these things. When you hang on, you know, if I put that on there, you can hang it as a pendant. A lot of my stuff I'm making as a pendant too, so you can hang that if you want. And I'm trying to remember what kind of wood this is. Anyway, so you see, and I can take this back in if I see any imperfections. Put it in here like this. I barely touch it, and then. What you do is, I like to finish sanding sometimes, but the problem with doing this is these things leave teeth marks. So what I'll do is I'll just get it set in here just enough. Tighten that up just barely, and pull this back out. Now, if you're doing small stuff you want to do, for instance, same type of wood. If you were making pins, you would stick this in there, like I said. Then you would take this, maybe. Oh, come on, maybe it is. You would take this chuck here, put it in there, and then put your drill bit in here. And same idea is you just push this in. This is turning instead of this, so you don't have to worry about that turning. And if you do it right, you got a straight hole. I used to do it in a jig over here on the drill press. It was not worth it. It was just pain in the butt. You can never get it straight. You know, it would take forever. That's why I used to use bigger pieces of wood. So, and you can never have enough tools. I'm the tool guy. I love it. I've got all kinds of different tools. So now all I'm going to do is just, now if you wanted to cut this at an angle, see, I don't have it in there very tight, so it's doing a little bit of a wobble, and I'm not worried about that right now. I just wanted to get it to where see, it's still loose. These teeth, I bent one of them, so I might have to get new teeth, and then you just take it on the drill press. Once you get this sanded down the way you want it, seal it, or you can paint it. I kind of like the way this is, and then put some kind of dots on it. I like the wood grain. See, my big hang up is green, so. And you can make see, now this is walnut. You can make small finials like this to hang on your Christmas tree. Some people have asked me, can you make this? I can make a pendant the same way. So anyway, I'm going to get off now. I'm going to go get something to drink, and then I'm going to take a break. I will be on later on for Jeff's train, Amazing Trains. Go on there and check it out. If you haven't subscribed to that, go ahead for that. That's a fun thing. I'll show you how I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I've got a major project I've been working for 20 plus years on. So anyway, with that note, I want to wish you guys a happy 2026. And stay tuned. I'm going to be doing this more often. I love doing this. I'm going to do different things. I'm bringing it up. The next thing I'm going to do, and I might do this later, is resin. Me and resin don't get along. I don't know what it is, but that takes a while. So I have to spend time curing the wood, blowing out all my lines in my compressor and my air compressor lines, and making sure that it has absolutely zero moisture in what I'm going to do. If I'm just going to do straight wet resin, that's one thing, but I'm going to do something a little bit different this year, so we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching me, guys. God bless. And remember, if you're not making anything, if you're not making any sawdust, you're not being creative. So get with the program, make some sawdust. God bless.